H3 is about expanding support to hip-hop professionals and making sure that they are aware of the safety net that MusiCares can provide during these tough times. The question to you guys are, what are some of the challenges facing hip-hop creators in the Bay Area, and how can we increase awareness of MusiCares support? You know, we all up here as artists in the Bay Area, from the Bay Area, know the challenges that we face being Bay Area artists, being so dope, being so creative, being so innovative, seeing people see us, go back wherever they're from and do what we do. So with that being said, what are some of the challenges you think that we face being Bay Area artists?
I mean, I feel like, I think it's a gift and a curse. A lot of artists from the Bay, you know, are content with just, you know, being artists from the Bay, which is cool, you know, if you know just want to stay, you know, but it's a whole world out there, you know, so I think, you know, it's a lot of artists from the Bay who can definitely, you know, travel and expand and, you know, be a little more open to being just not Bay Area only, you know, but in spreading Bay Area culture all over the world. But a lot of artists I know from the Bay Area are just fine and content with just, you know, being Bay popular. And it's like, why not spread the Bay Area vibe all over the world?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think sometimes I think because we are so innovative here, we can trap ourselves into that Bay Area box, you know, and forget that there is a larger world. So I definitely would agree with that. Anybody else? What challenges do you think we face as Bay Area artists?
I think we're so independent that sometimes it could get in the way, and it makes us kind of cliquey sometimes when we don't want to be cliquey. It's just like, these are my people. Like, I'm going to put my people on instead of bridging gaps between different types of people and different types of music, when we all kind of have the same goal ultimately.
What do you think that's about? Why do you see that?
Our independence?
Why do you think because I always heard about it, right? Like, I always heard about it. And I think me being a spoken word artist, a poet, I'm not in a lane that's as marketable or on the spotlight or mainstream as, let's say, being a songwriter, being a producer, being a rapper. People aren't checking for poets like that. So I didn't really understand it until my aspirations started going higher, and it required me to partner up, and it required me to gain support, until I said, hey, I'm going for a Grammy. I need your support.
I can answer that, I think. Do you mind? Okay, I think it's kind of rooted a little bit in tribalism, right? The Bay Area is one of the most expensive places to live in the entire world. We're survivalists by nature. So we as humans, we're going to click up just so that we can make ends meet. And when you recognize, man, there's resources here, I need to click up, I need a, you know, gang mentality, right? Put my people on, but we're not realizing how much that's hindering us. If we were to, like Karina was saying, bridge that gap and create a festival that put all of the different collectives on, think about how powerful the impact of the Bay Area would be. Instead of us being stifled by one movement, the hyphy era, you know, as dope as that is, we still see the influences. Kendrick would not be able to have dropped Not Like Us without being influenced by the Bay Area, period, right? But we're so much more than the hyphy movement. There's so many, right? Like Grand National, y'all sound is not hyphy. Y'all sound is something way different, but the rest of the world needs to see that. We can't just be pigeonholed into a box, you know?
But to piggyback on that, the end of Kendrick's festival, when if you know who was on that stage, it's Hoover's on the stage, it's Treetop Pyru's, like it's people that's not even supposed to be in the same vicinity. So in the name of empowerment and putting the spotlight on the city, everybody did what they had to do and got up on stage, and he put LA on an Amazon platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the part that gets lost in the noise of the diss and all of this. LA's been fractured for a very, very long time. And for one day, behind one movement, everybody popped out. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that stuff that we're talking about right now is self-inflicted, and things like this can help to mend that, so we can get all of the boogeyman talk out of the way. Bro, ain't nobody hating on you. It's the most expensive place to live, so you got to get your chili. You have to go to work. I don't have enough bandwidth to hate on the next man, bro. I got to keep my lights on, but I'm trying to go to the studio. But I'm trying, you know? So I think it's a lot of that, where we can share our resources, be open, be transparent. Karina opens her doors to everybody. Like, there's so many artists that I've met just pulling up. But you got to go pull up and support somebody else to meet another person who may produce your next record, who might mix for you, who might shoot your video. Like, there's a lot to be had with inside of just the pull up, and this is a testament to that today. The MusiCares and H3, you know.
I think that's a great point. One of the things I was thinking of, especially on the the premise of Kendrick's concert being so recent. I just watched you perform 2 days ago at an event that we had on the other side of the lake that I'm a part of. It's called Lake Fest. And I get to host that event every year. And the main premise of that event is vibes, family, safety, peace, unity. But it's also putting on all of the artists, local artists from here, on stage to do their thing. And I just watched on Saturday specifically how when you guys got up there, and how everybody else who was an artist seemed to just gravitate and love watching what you guys were doing on stage. And it made me think, why can't we have our own pop-up show? You know what I mean? Why don't we seem to have an artist that, we have artists who are active in cultivating the sense of family and unity, but what is it that's stopping us as artists in the Bay Area to come together as a whole unit to really display the power rather than displaying our own individual power? So I think those are all really, really great points that you guys have made. But I want to get to a question specifically for you, Bobby. As an Oakland native, and I think the cool thing in my knowledge of your work is that I've known of you since way back. I mean, I bought a pair of Vans. You know what I mean? I've known of you in the work you've done for a long time, and you've worked with a lot of prominent artists, a lot of people that, some people would go crazy just to be in the same room with, or, their claim to fame is taking a photo with these artists. But Oakland has such a legendary hip-hop history, but there's also a diaspora of Oakland hip-hop professionals throughout the country now. How do you stay connected as a community of hip-hop creators, and how do you keep bolstering each other and Bay Area hip-hop? So essentially, do you have a method to your balance? In my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of other people's eyes, you're one of the artists that we have from here who has definitely solidified themselves within not only hip-hop, R&B as well, different genres of music. So how do you maintain that balance? What does that look like for you between the professionalism of it all and the community work that you're involved in?
Well, I always just been the kind of person who is just like, I keep my lights on, I'm not tripping, so it's like, let me help you out. I always been down to help other people out. And, I would say like half of the people who I help out, they really appreciate it. And sometimes people get big and they, might have forget how, certain doors open, but you don't ever really stress off that. I'm always looking to be like, who can I help? Who has it, and who can I help open some doors for? And, and it's all, like I said, half the time, people, look out and be like, thank you, Bobby, and show love. And half the time, people may forget and be like, okay, well, that's not, I see their interviews and be like, that's not how it happened. And be like, all right, well, you've missed a major step of how you got shit popping, but it's all good. But I get fulfillment out of helping other people, and if they got something going on that I can contribute to or help them get to the next level, then I don't mind offering what I got going on to, help them figure stuff out. I always been like that. And I always like keeping my ear to the street and figuring out like who's gonna be the next person who got a little wave, who sounds hella good, who's connecting some dots. It's like, can I help them connect some more dots? That's how I feel like I've been able to I've been doing this, making music out of Oakland, like that songs people have known since I was 16. So it's like, and I'm 36 now. Oh no, I'm 35 now. I'm about to be 36 in September. So that's 20 years. So it's like, I've been figuring it out.
Would you contribute that? My follow-up question is, would you contribute that perspective to humility, you as an individual, or, I know sometimes people, can stay grounded for different reasons, right? Sometimes it's just in our characters, in our nature of who we are. The success doesn't necessarily alter how we operate, how we having conversations with people, how we converse, how we show love. And sometimes it's the experiences that we have within the journey that remind us to stay grounded and make sure that we are looking out for the next people and give back. So for you, would you say that's more so contributed to who you are as an individual, your success, or is it a little bit of both possibly?
Probably both. It's just, from Oakland, there's so much talent out here in the Bay Area, and a lot of people get caught up in the wrong stuff. Like, literally, since I graduated high school '06, and a lot of people who were, like, doing things and making noise who could have been, on top of their game, they just get distracted by different stuff. So it's like, being from the Bay is a great thing. I come back here all the time to get, regrounded and, refocused, but it's also a lot of distractions, and a lot of people just, kind of fall by the wayside and get off their grind. So, you just got to find a balance of, what keeps you going,
Feel it. Thank you. Next question is for MC. We said we were going to refer to you as MC today. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to remove the little today. Yeah. Big MC. Let's go. So, question for you. You have a really unique style and sound. Can you share some of the cultural and musical influences that have shaped that sound, especially as a Latina rapper from the Bay Area?
Yeah, for sure. So, soy venezolana, if there's any Latinas in the building. So, my dad came here when he was 18 years old. So he wasn't listening to a ton of stuff that would be considered Latin culturally, but he was really into rock and roll. He came here with all of his vinyl records, and I used to dig through all those crates. So Nirvana, The Who, Pink Floyd, which I think makes my style really unique, because I compile and kind of amalgamate the lyricism of some of the hip-hop influences that I have. And a lot of those are Bay Area hip-hop influences, like Tupac. I listened to, Zion-I, like R.I.P. Zumbi, all growing up. And so what I really loved about mixing those two genres is having that lyricism paired with emotion. And I feel like rock, and more specifically punk and hip-hop, are really similar. They're both countercultural movements, and they both rose during a similar time, and so I think that's what makes it unique. But even in addition to that, some of my favorite rappers on the rise right now are some Latino rappers. I don't know if you're familiar with Snow the Product, and she's actually from the Bay Area. She's my hero. Like, my goal in life is to just share a stage with her. And one of the reasons why I love her so much is that she is so multifaceted. She does reggaeton, she does some favela stuff, she does some super Bay Area type stuff, she does LA stuff, she raps fast, slow, she raps about her experiences, she raps just flexing. Like, she's so diverse, and she's been able to collaborate. But the reason why she really blew up was tapping into the Latin world. The Latin world is who really, really put her on. And so, just like you was kind of saying, like, there's this whole world out there that if we just, if we get on tour and go to these other countries and we tap into these other markets, we can blow up and then come back here to the Bay and kind of, share those experiences. So those are some of my big influences culturally and musically.
That's dope. I think one thing that I think is amazing about us as artists in the Bay Area, especially just listening to you guys speak and just the things that is triggering for me, is how inspired we always seem to be by other artists from here. You know what I mean? Like, to hear you mention another artist and say that one of your goals is to share a stage with them, and we can have those aspirations with people who just started a year ago, or their first album they just dropped 6 months ago, and our goal is to just collaborate and work with them, not because of their legacy, but because we genuinely appreciate that work. I think that's something that's really amazing. Can you speak a little bit towards some of the challenges that you face being not only a woman MC, but a Latina as well within this hip-hop industry?
Yeah, man. Okay, so I'll kind of go to the Latina part first, just because, again, just to bring up how we oftentimes get pigeonholed and we want to really break out of this cookie cutter. I think that people don't realize that the Latin world is so diverse, right? You got Puerto Rico, you got Spain, and then within Spain you got Bilbao, you got Barcelona, you got Chile, you got Venezuela. Most people don't even know where Venezuela is, by the way. They think it's in like the Middle East. So, and they all have unique sounds. And then you have Central America. And then in addition to that, you have different sounding music when people come here to America, right? Like, you have a different kind of, like Mexicans from LA. Those are some of my favorite artists too. I collaborate with them all the time. Vel 9, Las Brujas, like they have a unique sound. And then you have the Latinas here, some of my favorite artists, TYSF, Frisco Baby, they're fire, but they all sound different. So it's like, I don't like when people just really make caricatures, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna invent a word, caricaturize Latinas, right? It's like, oh, it's sombreros and nachos, and it's like, that's what your culture is. It's like, no, it's not. It's so much deeper than that. And we can have so many different stories. Like, don't make us have to, throw maracas into our music just to and throw on a sombrero for it to be Latin culture. I just want people to be able to stay true to themselves while also representing their culture. And I think as a woman, oh man, things have changed so much. Like, I came up as a female battle rapper in 2012. So it's changed a lot, the landscape since then. I was just this little 5 foot tall girl battling dudes that were, 6 feet tall. And I really had to just go in there and just go crazy on them just to, earn my respect. And I feel like I didn't see that same, I didn't see my male counterparts have to do the same thing. And things have changed a lot now. Now there's so many women rappers and it's really fire. But at the same time, it's unfortunate that the female archetype that you see dominating the mainstream is this really hypersexualized archetype, which there's nothing wrong with, right? But it's like what one of my other role models, Rhapsody, says is we just need balance. We need to have, yes, hypersexualization is cool if that's who you are, but there's so many different stories and aspects to being a woman. It's not just our body. But if that's part of who you are, you can, like, I call myself ratchet and woke because I like to read books, but sometimes I like to tap into my sexuality too, right? So I think those are some of the issues I've seen.
Dope. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. This next one, Monty, for you. As a co-founder of the art collective Grand National, how do you see the role of such collectives in fostering creativity and collaboration within the Bay Area hip-hop scene?
Collectives. Did Hyro have to identify as a collective?
I don't believe so.
HBK?
I don't believe so.
SOB?
I don't believe so.
We still in the Bay, but now you're talking organized noise, you go to LA, you talk TDE, you talk Future. Like, you kind of got to have a crew to get on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the formula for success is pretty consistent as far as music is concerned. Be a part of something. Like, bring some people with you. We need to fact check where you from for real. When Bobby and them was popping out, when y'all showed up, it was a hell of y'all, but you stood out. But your whole crew knew what time it was. Knick-knack, everybody knew you was the one. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the part where it's like collectives have always been there. It's just a popular thing to say. Community is a popular word to say when you're trying to get your grant money. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got the hot words that they use, but collectives always been here. You know what I'm saying? And it's for me, it's the through line for developing a successful product as far as art is concerned. You can fact check it. You can be next to dope artists who are doing the same thing or similar things, but trying a different technique. Shout out David, our sound guy for today. His crew, the Woadies, y'all my favorite artists, bro. And you guys have built a beautiful studio and you're accommodating, but y'all the best artists, but you're the best people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's at the root of it is our humanity and just being a part of something for real.
Is that a goal for you that's a personal aspiration to be a part of something bigger than yourself, or would you say it's also attached to your professional aspirations, right?
For a really long time, I thought those things were separate, your business and your personal and all that stuff. But I'm reading some crazy books right now, and you find a lot of people, house is dirty, their business is fucked up too, excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really separate the two. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning that in real time. I've always wanted to be a part of something, but now I got the language to sort of go seek that out and have done the work too, because sometimes you don't show up your best self. You got trauma and everything, things that you need to heal that you bring into a collective space that don't got nothing to do with me and MC collaboration, but I'm arguing with my girl at the crib, and so now our song is messed up because I ain't worked through my own shit before I showed up to the lab, you know? So it's all of it, right? It's all hella connected. It's not separated.
I think that's a good point. I think one thing that I definitely learned during our Grammy campaign last year, we went on we were working towards winning the Grammy for 16 months. So the day after the Grammys happened in 23, the day after we dropped our first piece of art and just kept going from then. And if I reminisce on all the things that happened in my personal life during that journey while I'm working with Sean William, who's a good friend of mine, and my man Matt, who did all the visuals for the project, I learned very quickly how important it was to compartmentalize. Right, because bringing a lot of those things that you're speaking on into that group when certain people may be there for the reason of, being a collective unit, but developing, this project and creating this art, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like we're friends, we're here to listen, we're here to support, but at the same time, we don't have time for all of that. It's like we have a goal right now. We're paying for this studio time, but we're here to create. Or I had to, hold my daughter and write whatever I needed to write, and I told you it'd be done by 9 p.m., so I did my part. I need you to show up in your full self and do what you got to do so you can show up. So I think that's definitely a great point, man.
To that point, though, holding your daughter, like, was the last time you heard about a studio session, a rap studio session, being safe enough for the kids to pull up?
Great point.
That's really what Grand National started as. Was like, yo, Ryan Nicole, I reached out to Ryan for a verse for an album, but I just sent the DM and was like, yo, here the address, pull up, session at 10 p.m. in the East. This is a woman, a married woman with children. Mm-hmm. She's not coming to the East at 10 for no studio session. All right, bet. 2 p.m. we won't smoke, it's safe, like, pull up, you know what I'm saying? But so that's the idea, like, there's this whole new wave of artists that are family-oriented first.
Very true.
And your art don't have to be put on the back burner to do both. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing it, for me, you've been talking about Heroes MC, is like, yo, like, I'm seeing my GOAT rappers identify as husbands and dads first, you feel me? But the music is still fire. Mm-hmm. The music banging. The Chupacabra, Jason Martin, and DJ Quick.
I love that album.
That album is crazy.
Whew.
But listen to what they're talking about on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to hit that point right there, what you were saying.
That's a great point. And to Karina, the recently Grammy-nominated sound engineer for an album called For Your Consideration 24.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you.
Owner of a really, really dope studio, doing a lot of amazing and wonderful things. I think it's really, dope how, even on the outside looking in for me, watching what you're doing and the things that you do, how you always seem to be so focused and oriented on community artists, you know what I mean? Like making sure that your space, just like we was talking just now, and you were like, oh, we should do a mixer, you know what I mean? And get some people together. It seems like your focus is, a big part of what you're doing is to make sure that we, and I say we, even though I haven't even been here yet, we have a place to go, where other artists come through, are accepted, we feel warm, we feel welcome. My question to you is, where do you see the future of Bay Area hip-hop going, especially being someone who provides a space for current artists to create and cultivate their craft?
I really see us like just tapping into our self-sufficient attitudes, but like raising the bar, like professionally, lyrically, musically, for everyone. Because yes, we have dope people like Grand National, we got MC, Big MC over here, and Bobby, but like, that's not everybody, you know what I'm saying? And, we provide at Studio X, we have our artist development program where we go over the basics. A lot of people don't know what a split sheet is. A lot of people don't know how to warm up their voice before they perform, So we going over the super basics so we can raise the bar. Because sometimes, like, I wouldn't say just the Bay Area. The bar's in hell, kind of. It's very low. It doesn't have to be, but it's because everybody can make music and put it out so fast that anybody could be a superstar right now. So it's like, let's get back to basics. So I think if we just tap into that collectively, we could really move us forward, especially with the professionalism. We could get somewhere.
Why do you think that bar, that's a great response. It's okay to clap up responses you feel, by the way. Y'all ain't got to be silent. If you like something you hear and you agree, it's okay to say yeah, or even a hell, whatever you feel. Let the people
Raise
know.
your hand, too, if you got something to say, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. That too. Raise your hand. We always are welcoming input.
Studio X over there, if y'all got anything to say, you know what I'm saying, let me know.
off of what you were saying about raising the bar, one thing, it was a comment that one of you guys made earlier about Big MC. You made a comment about the sound being, you know, what it is in LA, and, you know, you don't have to caricaturize, you know, yourself as an artist. I think one of the dope things about us in the Bay is that it seems almost impossible to fit that general sound mode. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're in a space with music right now where for the last couple of years, the most popular, the most trendy, the most popping people have a very similar sound. And people who are coming up are emulating that sound. Everything sounds the same. But I think we're getting to a space now where we're tired of it. You know, a lot of people are tired of hearing the same thing, or tired of that same old cliche vibe. You know, we're tired of the hypersexualized female MC when they're women such as yourself and plenty others, not only from the Bay Area, but California all over, in the country all over, who have some very valid things to say and tell stories in a way that we've never heard. They just don't get the opportunity to necessarily do so because they got clothes on. And sometimes it's really that simple, you know what I mean? And, you know, we can laugh and shake our head at it, but I think that's the truth. You know what I mean? There's a lot of women artists who are not being pushed to the forefront because of their validity and integrity. You know what I mean? And I think that speaks to what you're talking about the bar being in hell. You know, it's a fireproof bar, clearly. Why do you think in the Bay Area the bar is so low? And I know you said you guys have artist development programs. What do you think are some things that can be done by all of us in here as artists or people who support MusiCares, to raise that bar, essentially?
Well, and also, I just want to clarify, when I say the bar is in hell, I don't mean like commercially. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really down here with it, you know what I'm saying? Taking on clients who just started rapping yesterday or maybe been rapping for 2 months, and it's like they don't know anything, but they got TikTok. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by the bars in hell. But I just think just offering more community, you know what I'm saying? And putting on things like this where you can meet more people and encouraging people to meet each other. You know what I'm saying? One thing I like about my events is I've been doing this a long time, and I started, you know, with some more of the street rappers, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still tapped in, and we still do events. Now we do events with like Kev Choice, and he got all the musical, cool, artsy people. You know what I'm saying? So our events is like a bunch of them, just everybody who you would never see together. So I think it starts with that. You know what I'm saying? And just getting a lot more mixy. As funny as that word is, like, we all have to get a little more mixy out here. I think that will really help us.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are embracing the concept of art, like, as a whole. You know what I mean? We're not just, you know, trying to just stay in our lane. We got MCs doing a lot of different things. I see, you know, brothers, one of my favorite artists in here, Ian Kelly, bro. Visually, what you do. One of the
dopest.
You know what I mean? Like, visually, what you do with your art. I remember last year being on the campaign, and when you would drop stuff, I was like, ooh, okay, I gotta think of something. You know what I mean? And it's not from a competitive space. I mean, there's always a competitive nature to it, even if you're not in the same lane, but it's from an inspirational space. You know what I mean? And I think we're allowing ourselves to tap into that space where it's like, okay, just because I am a singer or a producer or an MC or a sound engineer, that doesn't mean I have to stay just in this specific box. I can add another component to expose myself to, you know, a different genre of art. You know what I mean? Tapping in with a Kev Choice, who is a master on the piano.
I was going to say, Kev Choice did something with Project Papa not that long ago, and I thought that was one of the dopest things I ever seen. Like, he's playing like beautiful jazzy piano, and Project Papa's on the mic saying some stuff. You know what I'm saying? To say the least, he's saying some stuff. So stuff like that, like just bringing us all together. We're all from the same place, whatever side of the city, whatever city. Like, we all from this area. So.
I feel you, yeah. And that made so much sense, didn't it? Like, after I understood that. This next question is for Bobby and Mani. How do you guys stay innovative and adapt your sound to remain relevant in a constantly evolving music industry?
Well, I feel like, not even to be cocky, but I set a lot of trends, and then I hear stuff, I'll be like, I know who they got that from. So it's like I don't follow nobody, and like I got a lot of artists who I love, and I listen to a lot of new artists, but I don't listen to not one person like all the time, because then you start sounding like people, and then you start stealing from people, even if it's subconsciously. So not even to sound cocky again, I listen to my own stuff, and I figure out like how could this have been better, or this was really good, and it's just like I feel like as an artist, you gotta, draw a line of knowing when you're being authentic or when you're following somebody else's path.
I think that's a great point. I used to struggle with that a little bit, especially being a poet, because a lot of my inspiration comes from y'all as MCs. I don't listen to poets ever. I'm not interested in another poet at all. I'm just, all right, cool. But I listen to a lot of like MCs, and I notice myself sometimes when I listen to one too much, like my poetry don't usually sound like this. I'm a little rappy right now. I call it being rappy. Like I'm a little rappy, but at the same time, I think there's a space where you do gain influence, and you have to be able to discern between imitation and growth and development, right? You got to understand sometimes as a writer that just because this doesn't sound like what you're used to, it doesn't mean you're imitating something else. This may be the next stage of your development, or this may be how this piece of art needs to come out. And it doesn't necessarily feel comfortable because it may be development. So as a producer, do you find yourself, well, okay, I guess I can't ask that question. You just said you listen to yourself. So, I guess you don't find it, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you ever find yourself at this point in your career listening to other people's music and work as a producer and kind of being influenced by that? And if you do, how do you make sure that you're still tapping into Bobby and not tapping into what you just heard?
Definitely. I like to keep my ear out there and listen to a lot of different stuff, but it's just about not, it's just about, like I said, being genuine to yourself. And it's like, when you like starting to copy somebody, you can tell like this sounds exactly like what I heard that I like from what they did. And it's like you can draw influences from stuff and still figure out ways to maybe enhance it or elevate it or twist it so it's unique to you,
Mm-hmm. And I want to, tip my hat to all four of you, too, because there are people in this audience who obviously respect you guys as artists. And I think one thing that's missing in conversations a lot about music and art are the components that people don't really speak about, right? Like we usually celebrate the sound, the successful tracks, what we've managed to accomplish open, the artist development, but we don't often talk about the insecurities. And I think for me, that's something that I seem to be intrigued with most, especially with other artists that I respect. What are the insecurities? So with that being said, for Monty, I wanted you to answer the question, one, about how do you stay innovative and adapt your sound to remain relevant, but also I want to ask, do you have any insecurities that you have to deal with as an artist? And if you do, and if you're comfortable, what may one of them be, and how do you kind of deal with that?
Safe space. MusiCares.
Oh,
man.
absolutely, man. MusiCares. Safe space.
Nah, seriously, Caitlin, my dog is here. I love you. My piano teacher and taught me theory. But seriously. She's the first person to ever walk into a studio and call me a producer. I just wanted her on the song. But in doing so, I was like, can you sing it like this? Put it right here, and I'm in there editing, and I had no idea. She's like, yeah, man, how long you been producing? I didn't know what she was talking about. I thought she was crazy. It's like, I can't read music. I don't know anything you're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. But that sent me on a path to go really mine what that is. And sitting next to Bobby is wild, and then him saying like, yo, taking that innovative lane, I didn't understand it until just recently, bro. I didn't understand how an artist reaches that level of mastery where they really just on their own planet and making whatever, because I spent so much time going, I'm gonna go make a Pharrell beat today. I'm gonna make the YouTube type beat. Last decade has been me just reverse engineering all my favorite things as a kid, not for anybody to hear, just for myself. So spending a lot of time in the room, but then the collective part, you get around some of the homies and people that are really, you get insulated, and then your confidence grows. And those insecurities start to become superpowers real quick. It's a trip. That Rick Rubin book is wild because it talks about just being able to trust your taste and trust your internal North Star. And a lot of that is just being, from being insulated for real.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, man. Clap it up for that. Clap it up. I'm curious now, after hearing that, if anybody else would volunteer. Like, do you struggle with any types of insecurities as an artist, or do you have insecurities that play a part in your artistic development? Me, I struggle with. Ironically, I'm an open book. Like, I've always been an open book, right? Like, ever since I was a child, I was called a crybaby because I'm an empath. Like, I feel on a level that I already know this is my superpower, like, for real. Like, I feel deep. I cry often. You know what I mean? And so I find myself struggling with, ironically, being too vulnerable sometimes, wondering if I'm being too vulnerable in my art. You know what I mean? And when to respect my own personal boundaries and myself. And because I already give the world so much of my feelings and my thoughts, and keeping some of that to myself, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you don't want to lose yourself in being so vulnerable that there's no part of you that is just for you. You know what I mean? And I don't want to figure it out on paper. And I don't want to figure it out through a poem. I don't want to figure it out through a post, to Instagram, none of that. You know, I just want to have it, and I don't want nobody else to know about it. And then sometimes I feel like it's necessary for me to put it out, because I know that your pain isn't meant for you to keep, and your insecurities are gifts to other people if you're willing to unwrap them and let them see you unwrap it. So for you guys, do you guys have any insecurities, or do you have an insecurity that you deal with that may be hard to balance between personal and your artistic life?
I love that. That's what you just said. I'm a big mental health advocate, and
Shout out,
my journey is the exact opposite. I cannot cry. Like, I've trained myself through everything that I've been through since I was like a little kid. It's so hard to get me to cry, and to the point where I felt like there was something wrong with me almost. Even in my therapist are like, do you think I'm gonna make fun of you for crying? And I'm just
I have to pause you. I'm sorry.
No.
Can we clap it up for her saying her therapist? Shout out to having a therapist. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
But recently I started trying something called co-counseling. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of it before. Oh my gosh, please go look into it. It's a different therapeutic approach that really tries to tackle how we're all really oppressed. So everything in our society has oppressed us, including we oppress our own emotions. We have all these hurts that have just been compounding over time. And I was able to cry in these sessions because it wasn't this hierarchical thing of like this therapist talking down at me. You're just talking with other people, and you get like a certain amount of time, 4 minutes, they talk, you just sit there and listen, and then you exchange. And in those moments, I was able to cry, and it was like, I remember calling my friend, I was like, oh my God, I cried. Like, it was crazy, But I think to kind of, answer your more direct question of insecurities, I think we all are insecure. I think that's why we're artists, is because we just want to be loved, right? And until we can really learn to love ourselves, we're always going to have that insecurity, and it's going to just metastasize and kind of express itself in different ways. So I'm not going to get like hecka deep with you guys on why I need love or who didn't love me or hurt me. But essentially, I think that's an insecurity that I battle with. And once I'm able to kind of tackle that mountain, I'll be able to cry like you, and I'll feel like a healed human,
Yeah, man,
It'll be amazing.
Come on to this crybaby side. It's, the water's kind of nice over here. Follow-up question. Having that experience, shedding tears, have you seen that influence your art in any way yet? I'm sure it will.
Yeah, my art is really, I don't know. I can be really angry. Like, anger comes a lot easier to me. I think anger comes a lot easier to most of us. Mm-hmm. But essentially, like, I found that I wasn't really allowed to be angry or to be sad. If you're too angry, you get arrested. If you're too sad, you're crazy. And then you go to 5150, which is pretty much like being arrested. So when that happens to you enough times, you realize that it's like, okay, I cannot express myself here, so I have to put it in the art. So I do feel like I get emotional in the art, but I'm really interested to see just how I can experience being a human more fully when I allow myself to cry. I mean, I cry during like dumb shit like Titanic. I can't not cry during that, but real things that I should cry for, like my son's graduation, like I feel like, what's wrong with me?
Well, congratulations. You got a son who graduated. That's what's up. I'll cry for you. I'll probably think about it later and start crying. Karina, I had a question for you. Can you tell us about your journey in establishing Studio X Recording? What inspired you to create this space, and how has it impacted the local music community?
I started as a rapper, as an artist. I put out my first song like professionally at like 16. Started headlining shows. I was doing my thing, and then I went to school. I went to DVC, and shout out DVC if anybody went there. Great music program. And I took engineering because, you know, we didn't talk about this earlier, but being a girl in this space, especially young, you know, and I sometimes, you know, and you know, sometimes you find yourself in questionable places with questionable people, you know. Mom thinks I was at the house with, no, she didn't. I wasn't, you know, I found myself in strange situations, and I was just like, I don't like it here. I need to get smarter so I could learn how to do this myself to a certain extent, and just so I can have the verbiage, you know what I'm saying? Because also being a woman in this space, you got to prove yourself, and people think they're smarter than you, and no, baby girl, it's okay. See what I'm trying to, nah, bruh, come on. So it's like I wanted to be able to advocate for myself and I know how I wanted things to sound. And so I really just did it for my own purposes. I had no goals or aspirations to be an engineer ever in life. Like, I didn't even know what that was. And I took a Pro Tools class, failed. And then I went back and I took it serious. And then I finished this whole program. I got my AA in music industry studies. And thank you. And it was cool because it went over Pro Tools, it went over music production, it went over a little music theory, forgot most of it, but you know, it went over the basics to where I was like, okay. And then I started taking sessions just to be able to fund my music career. I worked at like a print shop, like I did something that had nothing to do with my goals. And I started taking sessions and I got good. My first big client was Mr. Fab. And I learned like, boo. What's up, Cam? You know, and from there, I worked at a couple different studios, but you know, same thing, dude studios, you know, boy studios, you know, like very like, you know, I'm always cleaning the bathroom. I feel like it was just, you know, it'd be small stuff, but it was just like, I had so many ideas of what I wanted to do and I could never really execute them. So COVID happened and, you know, a lot of people have money to work on music, so I was able to stack up. And I found a studio right next to Kev's spot, and I opened a spot. And we've been doing events. My great, solid team is over here. We've been...
Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the team.
Some of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And it became bigger than me real quick. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of stuff for, you know, our music community, and we're building a vibe, like we're building a space, like we do everything musically, but we're a safe space before all of that, you know, and it's where women could come, it's where LGBTQ plus people could come and feel safe to make music, and the homies could still pull up and make music as well. So yeah, that's what Studio X is.
Hats off to you. I know.
Thank you.
Everything you're saying makes so much sense to me personally. You probably don't remember this, but my first time meeting you was, it may have, when did you first start working with Fab? What year was that?
Maybe like 2016.
Okay, so it was around then. It was around then because I remember I was in a horrible relationship at the time.
It happens.
And yeah, you know, we all make mistakes. I was in a terrible relationship at the time. And the reason why I remember this is because I was looking for any reason to get out the house. Because it was just like, yo, I'll turn this into a horrible relationship session real quick. It was a bad relationship.
Practice? Oh my God.
And like a week or two before, I'm a student. You know, I'm a student. I'm always trying to grow and learn. So this is before I really knew Fab. And I would always write him. He would never respond. And finally he responded, right. And I was like, yo, bro, like, I just want to sit in there. Like, I like seeing people's process. That's my thing. Like, I was asking Monty earlier, like, yo, can I please? I said, like, yo, I've been asking Kevin for like 10, 15 years if I could just, you know, pick and see the process or something. So yeah, I am, though. I am. I like the process. So Fab finally was like, yo, come to the studio and you can just watch. And you were on the boards. And I had never seen a woman on that big board thing. And I remember he was like, yo, P, this is Karina, this is P, and you you were like,
Oh no.
what's up? And then I just kept going. And I remember being like, oh, like, yo, she about her, like, her business and work.
Chat, I'm trying to mix this song.
Listen, you was really like in the zone, tapped in, and I remember never being so intently focused on watching somebody operate this big board with all these buttons, and I didn't know what they did, but you commanded, you had like a presence, right? Like, I think a lot of men know what I'm talking about. There's certain women you come across, you're like, oh, you can't play with her. Like, nah, if you're going to speak to her, if you're going to approach her, if you're going to engage with her, you got to come correct. You can't, half do it or be slick or funny. So it makes sense that you are where you are now, even me getting to know you a little bit more since the album process, because even back then you had such a strong presence, like that head nod and back to the board was like everything. So, really hats off and salute to you for everything that you're doing, that you've accomplished, and your team as well. I wanted to bounce back to Bobby real quick. You are known for mentoring young artists and giving back to the community. You said, you spoke on liking to help people. What drives you to take on this role, and how do you balance it with your career?
Well, what drives me to take on that role is, I just like making music. I've always just liked being around creative people. I've always liked the energy of being in the studio. I've always liked the creative process. So it's like, it's cool to see, young people, developing themselves and figuring out their own musical journey. It's like cool. It makes me hungry. It makes me, you got to figure out ways to re-spark your own hunger. It's like, well, they hungry. Why ain't that? I need to be as hungry as them again. So it's like, no matter how successful you get, no matter how much money you get, if you got plaques, if you got this, if you got that, it's always people who necessarily might not have achieved stuff yet that you can learn from,
Okay. I think that's an amazing point, because sometimes people achieve a level of success and they gain certain accolades, a certain amount of notoriety, and the only thing they want to do is continue to excel and move up, but they only think like moving up means going forward and not necessarily reaching back to pull people who are younger than you, people who are less experienced. So, I really commend you for that, because again, I think as notable as the careers you've had thus far, your ability, and I think that's a great point, speaking on the hunger. A lot of people lose their hunger, man. Like, a lot of people accomplish something and achieve something, and all of a sudden they don't want to eat as bad, so they're not writing as much, they're not practicing as much. And I think that's a great point, because there is always somebody who does what we do who is up an hour later than we are because we chose to go to sleep. And they're staying. I'm that person in poetry. I'm going to stay up until 3 a.m. because I know somebody I'm going to have to share a stage with is asleep right now. You know what I mean? And so you got to keep that hunger. So hats off to you for doing what you need to do, continue to motivate yourself. I think that's really commendable, bro. Monty, given your versatility and experiential artistry, what advice would you offer to emerging artists in the Bay Area who aim to make a mark both locally and internationally? It's the hard part sometimes with this advice stuff, man. Especially when you're in the middle of your own journey, right?
I'm still figuring it out.
Right.
I think that part, our Grand National, we did a mixtape earlier this year called Grace. And it meant something completely different to us when we started. The definition changed in the middle, and then we went through some trying times, just like few of our members, the health and losing family members and stuff. And so you get a real different understanding of what that means and how you can really hold space for people in spaces like that. And a lot of the artistry work in terms of just like being able to create is a gift. So thinking you entitled to anything and you get to perform because you made a song, that's not how that worked, bro. Like, some of the best artists, forget music, some of the best athletes that we know sleeping under the freeway. Like, they're, better than, man, he was better than Michael Jordan back in the day. Who cares? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, forget the whole talent part and just really like dive in on the humanity part, bro, and remember you talking to a person. Like, remember that engineer you talking to is gonna be running shit one day. So treat her with respect, you know. So I think that's Rick talked about it earlier. It's like they're not, reality and rap ain't hella far apart no more. Like this, people are living their raps, you know, and I'm proud to be able to say that part. So that's what I would suggest. It's like, yo, just try to get it one-on-one as close as you can.
Okay, word. MC, same question to you. What advice would you give to an up-and-coming artist?
Okay, I really like what you said. You were saying it's rather than don't focus so much on the talent, but the humanity. I've been thinking about this a lot. It's not so much the talent, but the professionalism. If the music industry was just represented by the most talented people in the world, then the landscape of music would be completely different, period. It's not, it's professionalism. But look, you can't be professional if you don't have self-discipline. And you can't have self-discipline if you don't got your mental health in order, right? It's just not possible. So my recommendation, not just to artists, but to humans in general, is like, you gotta be honest with yourself. Like, what's going on up here? It's okay. Like, take some time, take a break if you need to from music. It's always gonna be there. Work on yourself, because if, say, you make like a really dope hit record and all of this success comes to you, guess what else is gonna come with it? Crazy chaos, bullshit, haters, attention, a lot of stuff. And if you're not grounded in who you are, you're gonna lose yourself. So find yourself first, and then, you know, success will come.
I think that's a great response, which kind of brings me to my next question. We've done some, and I think this is the dopest undertone to this conversation so far, is the fact that mental health has been brought up by us individually and not through a question. You know, so it shows that it's something that's all on our radar. And my question for you guys, having the experiences that you guys have had within the hip hop industry, what do you do to navigate your mental health? Or do you at all? Is that something that you need to work on? Is it something that you're active about? I'd like to start with you, Bobby, if you wouldn't mind. But
No, I like to exercise. I like to, I was doing a lot of yoga. I haven't done it recently. But like just stuff like that where you could just kind of, meditate. And I watch a lot of movies. I like to just kind of sit back and zone out. And it's always good to have some peers who you respect, who you can holler at and be like, even if you got to, express a little vulnerability, it's always good to have a peer or a mentor you can, talk to and be like, yo, I'm going through this right here. And they could just be like, well, I went through that, and they can help navigate you. But it's, it's good to not bottle stuff in, and it's good to find an outlet. Like, I found yoga. It helped me zone out and get less stress in my life, But it's all, just figure out what works for you.
okay, word. Karina, same question. What do you do to navigate your mental health?
I go to therapy.
Shout out to therapy.
I go
once
to
again.
therapy. I've dealt with burnout a couple times, and if you don't sit yourself down, your body's gonna sit you down. Your brain's gonna sit you down. And I tell my partners, I says, take a break. Take a breather. Like Bobby said, watch movies. I have to disconnect. After some certain days, I'm just like, I have to, because we could get so wrapped up in that go. There's so much to do. We always got something to do. It's always a session to go to. It's always an event to go to. It's always somebody's release party, birthday, show my face here. Like, there's always something to do. But the cool part about it is there's always going to be something to do after you take a break. It's going to be there. Like, you might miss that one lit party, but they know you. You'll be fine. You'll make it up. You know what I'm saying? And that time that you do take and you do are able to create a good piece of art or put it together event, they'll come back. So I think it's just being self-aware and checking in with your body, because we get in that go mode and that anxiety starts to feel like fuel after a while. And
that's a great point.
it keeps you
starts
going.
to feel
hey,
like
write that
fuel.
down. Hey, give me my point if you use it though. Hey, but nah, it's just like there's a cap on that though, and it'll get there. So I think just always checking in and finding ways to be grounded and ground yourself, and You know, if you got a family home or something, sometimes I gotta go to my auntie house. You know what I'm saying? My mom lives really far, but I gotta go to somebody's house and just chill out for a day. You know, I like to go to the beach. You know, I like to be by water. So finding those small things that you can make happen. If I don't have time to go on a vacation, I could go drive to the beach real quick and go spend like an hour or two, breathe, turn off my phone.
Put your feet in the sand.
Put your feet in the sand and just like breathe. So I think I always try to find little ways where I can just neutralize my nervous system. It's very important because that burnout's not cool. That costs you more than anything. You know, that's expensive. So, yeah, avoid it.
I think that's a really good point. I know after the whole Grammy campaign, when we got home that day after the Grammys, I had to stop. I had to stop because the one thing I think I've struggled with my mental health as being an artist is the contrast between the success and the reality of my own personal life. You know, like when you are flown out to this place and you're staying at the most prestigious hotel in this space on a Hollywood Boulevard, and then you have these famous people you never expected to see who know your name, and then you find yourself stealing snacks in the back of the green room at the Arsenio Hall show because your kids ain't got no food at home.
Leaving with something.
Bro, literally to feed them, you know what I mean? And
They better
then,
hide these trays.
you know, like I did the Arsenio Hall show, was stealing snacks so I could feed my kids, staying in nice places. And when I landed on the plane, I had to catch the bus to work and put my duffel bag under a bush because I told them I was sick, and I knew the next day they was about to see me on national TV, and I got fired. You know what I mean? And that contrast sometimes between that artist life and meeting somebody that you've always idolized and them appreciating you and then hoping your car start when you get home. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that just don't mix, you know? Doing something real dope and traveling and getting paid and having to do Uber Eats because we need some extra money. And this artist check, I don't know when I'm gonna get it because this dude kind of flaky on the back end, you know. So
net 90 is a real thing in the rap industry.
Listen, let 90,000 sometimes it feels like, you know what I mean. So I think there's different ways and different things we go through to navigate our mental health. But to you, Monty, what do you do to kind of navigate your mental health being in this industry?
The gentrifiers call it cannabis now.
Okay.
Lots and lots of it. Therapy before insurance got real too. Like, it was booming before the pandemic. Like, I was good. I was seeing her like twice a week for a minute, like for a good minute.
That's what's up.
You know. But even still though, like still check in and was able to retain and actually started going back a couple months ago. You know, so therapy is like mad helpful. I like Bobby's point too, like exercise. Anybody from the rich or on that side know about Mosier. That's you hit right. You know, so straight up, one of the most epic climbs you can do in the morning when you can finally make it up there. Just tap in with God for real. Like prayer, I'm not even gonna play with you. Like everything else is like cool, but the prayer seems to have this consistent power on the whole thing. So prayer for me.
Word. Well, I have a question for all of you. Are we good on time right now? We got one more. Okay. So, let's see. Question: why do you guys think MusiCares? Why is MusiCares and having a safety net for music professionals so important?
One more time.
Why is MusiCares and having a safety net for music professionals so important?
It's a job like everything else. Like, we need insurance too. The fuck? You know, like, we get sick too. We get things stolen. We need a safety net. It goes back to, like, this idea of, like, the community, right? I had to make a whole song about this. Like, will you do this show for the community? Will you make this song for the community, which equals free? And it's like, but this is my job. This is my profession. And just like any other profession, we need maternity leave, paternity leave, insurance, you know, mental health coverage, all of these things. I'm tired of people looking at music like it's a hobby.
Bobby, your answer.
No, I feel like a lot of people, have a lot of pride, and it's just like they don't want to ask for help. So, like, from their friends or from, like, a family member, because then they'll feel like, well, I'm supposed to be, making this music and being successful, but, so I have to put on that image, So it's cool that the resources there, just to holler at them and be like, yo, I might need help with, some health care or, paying some bills and stuff like that. Because a lot of artists are very prideful, and before they ask for help, they will just, just beat themselves to the ground, or have to go do something illegal, or, just, going about the steps the wrong way, So it's cool that it's there for artists, and that's why I came. So, like, hopefully, this footage and everything will let, artists in the Bay and throughout the world know that the resource is there, so they don't have to put their pride, like, make their pride in the forefront, and they can just, take some steps back and be like, I need some help. So, sometimes it's fine to take 5 steps back so you can take 20 steps forward. You feel me?
Word. Karina, I'm going to pass the question to you, and Monty, and we're going to end with you. Why do you feel that MusiCares and having a safety net for music professionals is so important?
I think we get forgot about a lot, as artists. Like, oh, you got money, you're good. Like, how hard it is as an independent contractor to get health insurance, like, and afford it. It's a lot. It's a lot of little things you got to do. So it's just having some type of, network and resources, when times get bad, or mental health resources. I know people like artists, they artists a little emo and going through pain, but hey, look, it's not sustainable. You know what I'm saying? It's good to have resources that we could talk to people. For engineers, MusiCares does stuff for your ear health, that's very important. We forget about that. So, yeah.
Cool. And Monty, let's end with you.
Everything in totality is sort of in need of a rebrand, but specifically like safe spaces for art and artists and rappers and hip hop, like however you want to sort of classify it that day. But the rebrand is happening and we're telling a whole new story. So if we get safe spaces like this to do so, can't nobody go out there and say such and such is hating and this and that. No, bro, it ain't none of that. Like, I want to see everybody in here win. Because the spotlight is on the Bay right now, whether we know it or not. So when Atlantic call, when Sony call, when whoever call, and the first person they reach out to and they call, hey, bro, what you know about Kev Choice? That's the man. Put them on. Like, I'm trying to be shoulder to shoulder to really, change the narrative about how we show up in the mainstream. Like, Atlanta might have hella shit going on internally. We'll never know. Again, Kendrick with the pop out, like everybody united in the name of LA. The light is on LA, bro. We got to put on our best show. Everybody come together, lock in, let's get focused. And right now, that's what we're experiencing in the Bay. So MusiCares is doing this right now at this time. It's hella important so we can be here, get aligned, and get focused so we don't let this shit slip through the cracks again. Because we had our time. We had several times. It's back again. Don't fumble this play because it's a play, whether you know it or not.
Great points all of you guys have made, and again, I just want to salute you all and this is just a reminder of who we are as people in the Bay Area. The authenticity is what I appreciate the most about this conversation. Not a single part of anything that you guys said was about accolades, achievement, fame, notoriety. It's about who you are as people, how you view the world, and how you view as art. So, as somebody who respects all of you, I appreciate your time.
Shout out, Pete.
I appreciate your genuine responses. I look forward to working with all of y'all. And collaborating and whatever that means. And I think it's dope that we understand that sometimes collaboration can have absolutely nothing to do with our art. It can be genuine support. So shout out to MusiCares, the Recording Academy. I've been your moderator. I hope you guys have gotten something out of this. Feel free to walk up to any of these individuals, have a conversation. Before you get out of here, say hello to somebody you don't know or you're just meeting for the first time. Let them know what you do and what you have going on, because I'm sure there's a way we can be a resource to each other. So we thank you guys for listening to the moderation. I'm going to pass the mic to Tia.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you guys so much for coming. This was an amazing panel, wasn't it? Give them a round of applause. So I just wanted to open it up if anyone had any questions. But before we go into that, I just want to say MusiCares, we are here for the Bay Area, the Oakland community. This is just the beginning of this dialogue and conversation. We want to keep this going. You know what I mean? So I thank you all for coming out. If you have any questions, I'm going to open it up to like 1 to 2 questions. So anybody have any questions? No? Don't be shy. Okay.
I was just wondering, like, as an artist, I know y'all were talking about like pride and like ego and just trying to be like, just being open with yourself and honest with yourself. I was wondering if there's like a difficult part of letting go of that pride and trying to work through your whole process to try to expose those emotions, whether through art or just trying to decide if you have to take a break at the time.
No, it's deep. It's just, I feel like as an artist, you know, you struggle. That's a struggle, you know. You definitely gotta like figure out. You gonna get humbled if you go one way or, you know, too far. So, you know, and then you can learn. You learn from being humbled, or, you know, you can like let it get you down and just be like, I'm off that, or it can get worse. Your ego can get worse from being humble. But if you can get humbled and take it as a learning experience, and, you know, if your pride gets too big and you get humbled as you take it as a learning experience, to be like, you know what, like, honestly, God didn't like that. Let me change that, you know. Then that's how you can figure out ways to maneuver and find, you know, the silver lining.
Yes, so if you feel that you have a lot of pride, how do you try to break that wall down to try to be honest with yourself and be honest with the people that are like listening to you and just trying to take your advice? Like, how do you try to keep that balance of being honest with yourself but knowing where to keep that personal boundary?
I feel like you just gotta basically just literally, like, God will let you know when you're going overboard with, you know, with not being, you know, doing what he wants you to do. And if it's like you gotta just to get over that, I feel like you just have to, being humbled, you have to like focus on that experience of being humbled and not just brush it to the side. You know, you have to learn from it. You know, you have to go through it and you have to learn from it, and people will and then, you know, you just have to adjust. You know, it's all about adjusting. Life's about adapting, you know. You know, if you have to learn to adapt and make changes and figure out ways to, you know, get rid of, you know, anything that's not serving you or serving other people.
I think also one thing I would say is that be sure to sprinkle a little bit of discomfort into your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to get around people who aren't like-minded people in order to get a different perspective. Sometimes it's the people that you're surrounding yourself with and you're used to conversing with most. They typically tend to think like you, and sometimes you may need somebody who thinks a little bit outside the box and differently than you do for you to consider the different train of thought that you wouldn't have on your own or around your immediate people.
Thank you. We have one more question?
Have the uncomfortable conversations and find comfort in being uncomfortable. That's something I definitely have learned, even with the mental health part. The more I'm able to just have that conversation with somebody and let them know, like, this is where I'm coming from and this is what I feel, it kind of sheds away the fear part. Personally, me, I can have any conversation with anybody. And when you accept that, it makes things a lot easier to move. I'm a therapeutic behavioral specialist along with being an artist. And with that, I talk to a lot of younger youth and a lot of people. And for myself, their stuff is way bigger than my stuff, you know, way bigger. So that allows me to actually talk to other adults like, let's get it out here. Let's put it out there so then we can get through all the murkiness so we can just come to a common ground. And then if you can't, you learn where to put things down and still walk in your truth because you did the uncomfortable part. You spoke your truth. And I think that helps a lot.
Anyone else? Oh, awesome.
First off, thank you guys so much for all of this information and sharing. And Karina, I love you. You are the most inspiring person I know. And it's incredible to be a part of your team and like a part of the vision. So thank you. What? Oh, no, my question.
Oh, no,
It's left my head. Wait. Okay. When you get stuck, because I think when I talk to a lot of other people who are artists, singers, songwriters, rappers, people who are like trying to come up in this day and age where content is king and you have to be on social media, you have to be engaged on all the platforms, and like going and putting stuff up and posters on the streets and handing out CDs, it's like not the same anymore. People want to scan a QR code, and it gets overwhelming. And so like what do you do in your personal careers when you feel like you're stuck or really overwhelmed by like the amount of work that you think you're going to have to do to even get a little bit of a look? Like what gets you out of that stuck place? Because I think a lot of people get there and they don't know how to like get out. And it's one thing to like take some time and meditate or talk to a therapist, but like what are the things that what's your like plan of action to get you out of that when you recognize that you're in that?
Tizzy. You know I was going to say something.
Of course.
I think the first thing is like changing the perspective. We have to do content. No, you get to do content. And I know that's cliche and as corny as what the therapists say, but seriously though, like, yes, because that's a daunting task. It's all daunting. When you think about it, it could be very daunting. I got to do this. I got to goddamn, you know, like, but if you're like, I get to like, I got a phone, I got CapCut, I get to talk to thousands of people at once. Let me figure something out. So even just like changing your perspective a little bit. And yes, it's still a lot, you know, then it comes with organization, planning, calendars, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the first step is like just changing your mindset. If I don't have to do that, but I get to put this together. You have hella resources around you. I get to go ask for help and collab with people that are ecstatic and want to help me. And then whatever y'all
Love
got.
that.
It's just never getting too down on yourself too, because a lot of this stuff, most of the stuff might not be as successful as like I'm gonna drop this and it's gonna go crazy. It might not. It might do 1/4 or 1/5 or 1/10 of what you think it might do. And it's just never about getting too down on yourself and be like, cool. Well, I'm putting stuff onto the universe. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Let me figure out the next thing I like, and let me put that out there. And whether it lives up to your own personal expectations or not, you just gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Thank you all. This was great. So before we close out, I'm going to put Prentice on the spot. You going to give us a word before we close out?
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. I am a beautiful tragedy. Trapped inside a brilliant mind with absolutely no walls to contain. I roam while standing still. I breathe without inhaling. I speak best with silence. I find peace in violence. I am scared of everything but fear absolutely nothing and no one at all. I stand tallest when broken down. I'm a loner with 100 best friends. All of them named adversity. I used to often pray to a God that I didn't fully believe in, have yet to atone for my sins, but then again, why do I need to when I seem to be the epitome of innocence compared to most of them? I'm a man who frowns with the devil's grin, an angel full of sin, too impatient to learn how to fly, so I pluck the feathers of my own wings and place them inside my pillowcase in hopes that one day I'll know what it feels like to sleep heavenly at night. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of darkness and light. None of this is going to make sense. I'm still just trying to make sense of it all. See, no one told me having a gift came with so much responsibility and consequence. Sometimes I feel trapped within my freedom, like reality's illusion. Can't decipher whether it's God or my conscience talking. They both tend to blend together to create this new sound called confusion. I find sanctuary within the autistic minds of the children I used to teach from 9 to 5. The uneducated call them crazy. Shit, I call them free. This artistic mind of mine won't take time to heal, but it will stop for nothing, not to digress while trying to progress. I know this sounds contradictory and none of this makes sense, but life is full of contradictions, so how can this not make sense? They say I look just like my father. It's a shame I wouldn't know. It's been so long since I've seen him. They say recently he got into church and got saved. I say good for him, but why the fuck am I still walking around wrestling his demons? 20 years ago, he lost his hands in a fire. Maybe that's why he doesn't pick up the phone to check on his grandkids. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair. I got to walk around with both of our burdens while he gets to be hands-free, even though we both carry the same name. Lately, pain feels better than it should. It kind of wakes me up, but I'm so tired of feeling it, so I submerge myself into my notebook, refusing to come up to the surface until I'm able to breathe life into suffocating ears. You are looking at a man who is dying to live, a man so scared of going sane, but just want somebody to tell me that I am not crazy, that this is just life. And if I'm crazy for trying to make sense of it, how crazy are you for not trying to? Boomers!
Woo! Yo, that was so dope. That was so dope. Reppin' Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We in here. We